Today on Alistair Art, we're going to be looking at the artwork of Yayoi Kusama and her use of dots. Yayoi Kusama is a contemporary artist, which means that she's still making art today, or she was making art at a period in between the 60s and now. She was born on March 22nd, 1929 in Matsumoto, Nagano, Japan. Her parents did not get along, which had a lasting effect on her. They were never very supportive of her making art, her mother especially. Her mother, when she would find her art supplies, would throw them away. At the age of 10, Kusama began to have hallucinations, which she described as flashes of lights, auras, or a dense field of dots that would later be used in her art. When Kusama was only 13 years old, she had to work in a military factory during World War II, sewing together parachutes for the Japanese Army. In 1948, she actually got to begin studying at the Kyoto Municipal School of Arts and Crafts. But she did not like that it was all in the Japanese style, when she was much more interested in the European and American avant-garde art scene. So, Kusama ended up leaving Japan at the age of 27 to move to the United States, partly because women in Japan were looked down on, especially in the art world. She first moved to Seattle, where she continued to make art, often with her polka dots, or as she called them, infinity nets within her art. She soon moved to New York City after corresponding with artist Georgia O'Keeffe. Kusama credits O'Keeffe with giving her the courage to move to New York. When she first got there, she was actually quickly praised by the people within the avant-garde art movement. In 1965, she created Infinity Mirror Room and has gone on to create many different infinity rooms. These works create never-ending illusion of repetition. One of these works, called You Who Are Getting Obliterated in the Dancing Swarm of Fireflies, is on permanent display at the Phoenix Art Museum. Kusama underwent a number of rough circumstances in the following years. She lost someone who was very close to her. Other artists doing similar work to hers were being praised, while she did not get any of the credit or notoriety, mostly due to her being a female at the time. So Kusama decided to return to Japan in 1973. Her health continued to decline, and in 1977 she checked herself into the Seiwa Hospital for the Mentally Ill. She decided to make this her permanent home and has been living there ever since. She leaves every day to go to her nearby art studio, where she works every day and returns to the hospital in the evenings. Kusama continues to make art to this day. She is currently 91 and still making art for the world to enjoy. Some of her artworks have sold at auction and have broken records for living female artists. The painting number 2 sold for $5.1 million in 2008, and White number 28 sold for $7.1 million in 2014. Today we will be using Kusama's pumpkins as a starting point for our art project. The pumpkin on the left is Yellow Pumpkin from 1994, which is a very big sculpture, and we're going to be looking more at Yellow Pumpkin from 1992, which is a painting. When it comes to materials for this project, the main things I'm going to be using are pencil, eraser, and paper. If you have something else like canvas, or you want to do this outside using chalk, you definitely can. But once you have those materials, you'll need to find something to add color. I've used different things like Sharpie markers, oil pastels, watercolor paints with crayons. You can also use regular markers, colored pencils, chalk pastels. You could use sidewalk chalk. You could use tempera paints, acrylic paints, really anything you want. Now that we've looked at her pumpkins, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my own food. I'm going to be making a really big apple for my first one. So I'm going to just start with 2 little curved lines. And from my curved lines, I'm going to have diagonal lines that come towards each other a little bit. Not too much, but we want them to kind of come down towards each other. And once I get down to the bottom, I'm just going to do a curved line going the other way. So kind of like an upside down rainbow on each side. And then I'm going to have it curve like a regular rainbow to meet them in the middle. So just using curved lines. I will also add a stem. And then I can go and start to add some of the dots. So I do want to put dots inside of my apple, and it's really up to you how you do these. If you want to make them all small, you can. Maybe you want some small, some bigger. Maybe you want them in different spots or different places. Go for it, but take your time. Don't forget, do some on the outside too. Maybe I want to do some really big dots out here. Try to have fun with it. And remember, you can kind of use anything you want on this, whatever materials you have or have access to. Try to take your time while you're drawing your picture. The more time and effort you put into the drawing with pencil, the easier it will be to do your coloring later. Remember, start off by drawing lightly. We always draw light. That way, if we make mistakes, it's easier to erase. Once you have the shape you like, you can go in and darken it in. A lot of times I will take things like a black Sharpie marker and I will outline my shapes. But once you have your shapes all done, then you can go ahead and start to add your color. I did one of these with the crayons and watercolor paint. I did one using different colored Sharpies, and the other one I used oil pastels. Try to have fun with the colors that you're using. You're not stuck with any one color, so have fun with it. I did a few different examples. One of them I did like Kusama would have done with the pumpkin and polka dots. The other ones I did an apple. I also did an avocado that is cut in half where you can see the inside, and again I used polka dots on all three of these. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing your artwork, and thanks for watching.